Secretary for Business and Trade, Andrew Griffith. Andrew Griffith, always good to speak with you. Thank you very much for making the time. I suppose there's a number of topics that we can talk about today, but let's just start because I'm pretty sure you're going to have something to say about the decision from yesterday to reinstate those elections. Now, there were some Conservative councils that wanted to pause their elections too, wasn't there?
Well, Conservative members of Parliament in the House of Commons voted again and again against the cancellation of elections. That was our clear policy. Yes, there were some different parties, Liberals as well, who made their own local decision. But it was completely wrong. And look, there's a pattern of behaviour here, I'm afraid, from this government, scrapping jury trials, locking up people for Facebook posts, trying to shred court records, suppressing the investigation into grooming gangs and denial of democracy. So there's some really serious questions to answer. We shouldn't just move on. Heads must roll. Someone must be accountable for this. And then now it's going to cost the taxpayer an awful lot of money to scrabble around at the last minute and get these elections back on track.
I mean, you could just be clear, Mr. Griffith, what you're suggesting that this government is doing with those examples that you give.
Look, they want time and time again disrespecting our constitution and putting into jeopardy some democracy. Remember why we even ended up in this place with the government trying to scrap local elections. It's because they woke up one morning and decided to impose a blueprint on local government in this country. No one asked for that. They didn't consult. They didn't hold a referendum. In some places, they're smashing up historical counties, all because of something that the Labour Party wanted to do. This is very, very serious, and we need some heads to roll and people to be held accountable for what they're doing to democracy in our country.
So you don't think the local councils, district councils should be restructured? Is that what you're saying?
Well, look, it's not what I think or what anyone else thinks. The point is, look, we've got a rising level of unemployment. We're not spending enough on defence. The government hasn't yet got to the bottom of even things like grooming gangs on their watch. Why is it that anybody thinks a priority at this moment in time is a wholesale reorganisation of local government? That is not the issue that people want this country to focus on. This is not a government that's delivering any growth. And we can see in today's jobs figures that they are betraying a generation jobless, who are working hard, they're doing the right thing, they're trying to get into the labour market, and they can't get a job because of the direct actions of this government.
So what would you do differently then if you guys were still in power in terms of the jobs market?
Look, we've got a very clear plan. First of all, we wouldn't be jacking up the cost of employment with a 25 billion national insurance raise. We opposed and we would reverse most of the 330-page job-destroying employment bill. Business needs cheaper energy. Without that, we're going to continue to offshore jobs to other countries because British firms can't compete. And we would have lower and simpler taxes, things like cutting stamp duty to get the housing market going again, or cutting business rates to keep our high streets alive. Very clear plan, because we understand business. I worked in business for 25 years. Many of the shadow cabinet did. The Labour cabinet have got less business experience than the intern in the House of Commons gift shop.
Right, there were a few things there. Most of them talked about the cutting of taxes, but part of your argument is that we haven't got enough money to spend on things like defence, which is necessary, and the government would say that you need to make sure that tax receipts are high so you can continue to provide public services on other areas, the NHS, schools, as well as the very important area of the defence of the UK.
No, look, you're right. We always need to make tough choices and wherever possible try and balance the books. But the government has just wasted £62 million on a foiled attempt to suppress democracy.
OK.
£260,000.
You made that argument, but you said, you understand business and businesses will help. Businesses aren't going to fund the NHS. Businesses aren't going to fund schools. Businesses aren't going to fund our defence.
No, it's growth that's going to do those things and tough choices. So the Conservatives have set out very clear choices on welfare, the ballooning welfare budget that's going to reach £450 billion a year of taxpayer money. We would spend less on welfare because we would make choices and get business growing again. And that would allow for taxes to be cut and for more money to be spent on defence and other things. So it is about making choices. I was a finance director. None of these choices are easy, but but we have laid out a path to do that. When Labour tried to tinker at the edges with welfare reform, their backbenchers said we're not having any of it, and it was one of the first of what are now 15 U-turns that this Prime Minister's made.
Yeah. Just on sort of ideas, bold policies, I mean, you'll know, and I'd love to get your sense of a Conservative government's idea around this. There are some groups that are calling for allowing asylum seekers to work. There is one organisation, the National Institute of Economic and Social Research, that says it would increase GDP by 1.6 billion. I mean, is that something you would think about considering, having these people who are here unable to work contributing to the economy?
No, that's completely not the issue at the moment. The issue is that people who've worked here, British people, all their lives can't get jobs. There's 9 million people of working age who are not actually in the workforce. So the issue is that we don't have enough jobs. It's not that we don't have enough people to do them. And this often comes around. And the issue is always that you create the UK as a jobs magnet, people fleeing from safe countries like France to come to the UK because it's easier to find work here. That's completely wrong, and it puts all sorts of extra costs on the taxpayer, as well as putting British people at the back of the queue for the jobs that are here. The issue is the economy is not growing. We need a government that understands business, that's got a clear plan to grow the economy. And under Kemi Badenoch, we do now have that plan.
Andrew Griffith, Shadow Business Secretary, thank you for coming on and sharing your opinion. Thank you.